not great. There's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, Paul is talking about this, and this is the vacation I was alluding to in the opening. Paul says, via Canada Press News, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's office is clarifying. Oh, we misspoke. That he and his family, who in the family, boyfriends too, are vacationing in Jamaica at no cost, at a location owned by a family friend, after initially saying the family was paying for their stay. Oops. I smell another ethics violation. Oh, the ceremonial slap on the wrist will happen in the House of Commons, right? Oh, bad Trudeau, bad, right? Here's a $500 fine. Seriously. They probably budget that in. They don't budget. Are you kidding me? Trudeau doesn't think about things, but budgets balance themselves, right? Ho, ho, ho. The Toronto Sun. Let's talk about Epstein. This is probably the biggest story that is a suspect non-story out there. People are really excited about this. We're not finding out anything new, right? We got Clinton dead to rights. He's out. He can't do anything. He can't do anything about that. Like, what are you going to do? Put him in jail for the rest of his life? Okay. So, we got Clinton, we got Prince Andrew. Who else? The rest are redacted? Oh, weird, right? Apparently there's a delay till January 22nd. So this whole thing's hinky. It seems like distraction. It seems like the real players are pulling strings behind the strings to make sure their names don't get caught up in this whole thing. So, man, it seems very suspect to me. When, I saw Brian Lilly talking about this, and I was going to tag it, but they're all doing it. Everybody's talking about this, right? Toronto Sun is running this. So Laurie Goldstein's talking about it. All the Toronto Sun guys are talking about it. Everybody is, CTV is running it. Everybody's running it across everything, right? So that tells me they want us to look here, not somewhere else. So we'll look here really quick, but then we're going to look at all the other places that things are going on, because things are going on. Anyway, the Toronto Sun says the pedo files, right? Right. Big names and unsealed legal documents involving dead perv Jeffrey Epstein, including Bill Clinton, who one witness allegedly heard like them young. Check out our front page for Thursday, January 4th, 2024. So people are all celebrating this, right? Like, look at that. Oh my gosh, Bill Clinton's a pedophile. Who knew, right? Who could have guessed? Well, actually, if you looked at things really in 2008, people were talking about that kind of stuff. Here's CTV News, right? Jeffrey Epstein documents unsealed, naming Prince Andrew and former U.S. President Clinton. Again, nobody we haven't heard about before, right? Here's the link to the documents if you want. It's 900 pages. I think it's searchable. I think it's like you can Control F and search, right? These memes are devastating. This meme, which is Bill Clinton on a plane, and it says in the top, Jeffrey Epstein, in the middle, Bill Clinton and Ghislaine Maxwell, and Disney Pixar present Magic Island. Right? That's savage. Oof. People who could do this kind of stuff, who this meme pops into their head and they just put it up. Incredible, right? So Bill Clinton is surrounded by young girls in dance costumes, right? And they're all smiling, and he's looking a little nervous in that picture, don't you think? So I think. And what a spot on meme. And in this meme, it encapsulates, I think, this. Hold on. I think I have the right one. Here it is. It wasn't the top one. I knew it was here, though. It was the second one. Testimony from one witness. Question: did Jeffrey ever talk to you about Bill Clinton? Answer: he said one time that Clinton likes them young, referring to young girls. So, right? Bam. And pretty wild stuff. We've got details, minor details, sordid details, right? People love this kind of stuff. It's like candy. They're like, really? Young girls, you say? But again, it's not something that we didn't know. It's not something that wasn't speculated on at great length on 4chan and other places, right? And so those things were dismissed as conspiracy theory. You people are crazy. These code words that the FBI identified don't mean anything, right? What do you mean walnut sauce and map and so on and so forth? But it's very, very interesting that now all of a sudden people are open to this scandal. Okay. Brand says they released a heavily curated list that includes has-been and no longer powerful enough pawns. They've taken years to release it. The vetting has been done. These are the sacrifices in the eye of the public. The still useful clients are well hidden. So yeah, I think that that's very, very accurate and reason for us to be skeptical. We're being shown this so we don't look at the people that they're not highlighting, because the people they're not highlighting are still operational, right? It's an old code, sir, but it checks out. Painting of Clinton in a blue dress hung in Jeffrey Epstein's home, right? Like, that is power, right? Hello, Mr. President. Yes, I've got this picture of you, and yes, you'll do what I say, right? Like, that's power. Of course we knew about Clinton, right? Of course we did. Laura Loomer says one of the most alarming posts about the newly unsealed Jeffrey Epstein documents is a section that describes how Jeffrey Epstein allegedly forced an underage girl, Jane Doe 3, to have sex with Prince Andrew whenever he wanted. Whoever is redacted in the documents is more important or has more status than Prince Andrew, a member of the royal family. Just let that sink in. Or he's operational. Right? Maybe it's Prince Charles. Maybe it's or Prince King Charles. Right? Maybe it's who knows? Who's more important than Prince Andrew? But Prince Andrew's already in the public eye. So at this point in time, I think that maybe Laura Loomer is missing the forest from the trees and not realizing that this is just a highly curated list of people that we already knew about and people that they're willing to sacrifice to the wolves. Like, all right, see you later, Bill. Right? Have fun with that at the end, and so on. Who knows? But it seems like we're being hoodwinked a little bit, and I feel cheated. Sam Cooper, let's talk about Palestinian pro-Hamas protests and what Sam Cooper is saying here. He says, interesting WeChat find from Andy Lee. We know Chinese intelligence and United Front networks organize around various protest issues, foreign registry protest and Beijing advocacy and PPE collection. Big mobilizations would be very, very interesting if they're chipping in on this. And Andy Lee says, many are wondering why the Free Palestine protests are so large. WeChat posts show broad support for Hamas rallies that list details, including bus pickup locations that are shared by prominent United Front groups. This one, the CCFPA, has worked with Senator Wu. So Andy Lee says, many are wondering why the Free Palestine protests are so large. WeChat posts show broad support for Hamas rallies that list details. Oh, I already read that. Sorry. I got a bunch of messages I had to deal with, so back I am now. Here's Wall Street Silver, and he says, remember this? I've shown this a couple of times already, and I don't know why it's so blurry, but he says this is a former Canadian CSIS, Secret Intelligence Service intelligence officer, or intel officer, and he just testified about Justin Trudeau. We can prove every federal government from Mr. Mulroney to Mr. Trudeau has been compromised by an agent of Communist China. So who's organizing these protests? Is it our own government through United Front via China? Like, are they saying, yeah, that'd be really helpful. Go ahead and organize that. That would be super great. Right? Like, here we go.
I want to be very clear, and I want to be very clear. We can prove that every federal government, from Mr. Mulroney to Mr. Trudeau, have been compromised by agents of the Communist China. Every government were informed at one point or another. Every government choose to ignore CSIS warning either by negligence, self-interest, or partisanship. Every government were infiltrated by agents of influence acting on behalf of the Chinese government, and we knew who they were. Every government took decisions that are questionable about China and can only be explained by interference exercised from within or motivated by self-interest. Not only the sitting government have been compromised, but all federal political parties have been compromised at one point or another. The inaction of the federal government, all federal governments, were led to attacks on many municipal and provincial governments. Ultimately, every government has been part of the problem, not the solution. And remember, not only China is practicing interference.
Right. Not only China. There's a whole bunch of other, I mean, the Indian, what's going on with India and the conflict there, the friction, I wouldn't say full-blown conflict, although the dancing was enough to spark a conflict. Jeepers creepers, Justin. But still, right? Fundamentally, there's friction in a lot of places that Canada used to have fairly good relations with, and that's not good. Here's Holly Doan, and she's reporting Canada continues to pay millions in foreign aid to China. GAC corporate reports tabled in Parliament said aid to China totaled $7.59 million annually. 7.59. I mean, like, we could do something with that here. I'm sure we could do something with that here. Do we need to be paying China for international aid, right? Aid to China? Foreign aid to China? Why? How can that be justified, right? If we're equal trading partners, how are we equal trading partners? I mean, clearly not, but if you're operating on the premise that Canada is a sovereign country that can handle itself, and if there's a crisis, we can, deal with things and so on and so forth, and China is its own sovereign country that can handle a crisis and deal with itself and so on and so forth. They don't need international help. We don't need international help. Why are we offering international help? Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, John is responding to this, and who is he? He is CAF veteran, and he's a columnist for the Western Standard. He says, meanwhile, 7.59 million to China. Meanwhile, many active Canadian Armed Forces members at bases across Canada are sleeping in their cars, tents, or couch surfing because there is a lack of on-base accommodations and poorly administered relocation and benefit policies. This is a tap we could turn off right now to help Canadians. Sure. There's a whole bunch of people in Canada who require help, would not be the right word, require good policies to stem the bleeding of years of Trudeau's bad policies. Giving them money is probably not going to help them, but having money in Canada to complete projects and things like that would be better than sending it to China, right? I think probably. Here's Theo Fleury, and he's talking about this. This is out there for most people. I don't think most people are going to see all this tie together the way this ties together in this little write-up here. I'm going to read it anyway because I think that it's plausible, outside plausible, but certainly plausible. We've seen this in the past. We've seen examples of this in history. So is this plausible? Probably. Is this what's going on? Maybe. Am I 100% sure? Am I sharing this because this is it? Slam dunk, we've got him now? No, but it's certainly something worth thinking about. Theo Fleury says, any parliamentarian care to comment on this? We're watching this happen in real time. This is how you'll own nothing and be happy, the slogan of the WEF. I certainly think it's plausible. Here we go. Sovereign debt. Borrow as much money as possible from the world banks to give it give it to foreign aid. Make sure next to nothing is being put back into Canadian infrastructure. We're watching all that. Raise taxes, carbon tax, to shut down small businesses and discourage growth. Shut down industries. Bombardier, General Motors, Boeing, pipeline. 70% of oil and gas sector see oil lower than production costs so that no profits, or set oil at lower than production costs that so no profits are made, as some examples. This will allow government to spend more money by supporting good people who are out of work and stop money going back into the system. Flood migrants into Canada who refuse to work, have multiple wives and over a dozen children, all on welfare, as the sole purpose to drain the economy. 100% coverage. The housing bubble is about to crash. They plan to bail out banks when it soon crashes. With industries shutting down, migrants flooding the country, and Canada borrowing billions to only give away, and bailouts just around the corner, Canada is landing right into the hands of the World Bank's sovereign debt, and their puppet is Justin Trudeau. This means that there's more going out than coming in, and that makes the dollar drop. Soon, we will not be able to make the interest payments, and World Bank will collect the land, the people, and its infrastructure through sovereign debt with the use of the United Nations troops legally. This is how they legally plan to collect Canada. This is the real reason for Soros and the uprising of migrants, for the sole use of collapsing the economy in multiple countries, and for the World Banks to collect for the New World Order agenda legally. Justin Trudeau is shutting down the Canadian economy for the World Banks to take over with debt collection. You care for Canada, then make sure everyone sees this. Knowledge is the first step, blah, 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 blah. Interesting, right? There's a whole bunch at the top that I can see happening, but it's the ergo, this is what's going to be delivered, that I'm skeptical that people will say, yes, that's what's going to happen. But I think that people can clearly see the beginnings of this. They can clearly see the first couple of sentences coming to fruition, right? I'm just not sure that they will believe or go with this write-up that UN troops will come in and collect the land. I don't think they have a concept of what that could potentially look like. I don't think that they understand that this is plausible, that if people roll in and decide that they're going to collect the land, that looks different than we are self-governed, right? And people, I don't think, have any concept of that. And also, there's some people out there who would welcome it and say, well, thank goodness Trudeau's not in charge. But it's all the same people. Trudeau's the puppet of the people who are trying to roll in and take control because, that Trudeau guy can't manage things. Well, yeah, and because he's doing what you tell him to. So these crises are created so that we get to here, right? Totally plausible. Could be happening real time right now. We're watching the beginning of it. I'm just skeptical that people would believe the last part. I think that people wouldn't believe it, despite, recent history, right? The Freedom Convoy had a whole bunch of police who you didn't have there was no identifying marks on them really. It was just green outfits, and they were very militarized, if you ask me, and they were very violent with the citizens of Canada. And it seems like maybe we've already crossed that Rubicon. Maybe we're already there. right? And people don't even realize it. You wake up and look around and go, where am I? Am we in Kansas anymore, Toto? And you find out that no, you are not. Right? And so maybe that was the wake-up call we should have heeded. Holly Doan is reporting, data collected by StatsCan shows the cost of most foods, went up, not down, after the Minister Champagne claimed to stabilize prices. So I'm shocked. I'm not that shocked. They just lie. They do things, and they do things in order to fix a problem that their bad policies created in the first place. The carbon tax is the bad policy that's creating the inflation that's making food and everything else more expensive. So in order to fix that, they say, we're going to create this grocery thing. And then it doesn't fix that. But they say it did fix that, because without the grocery thing, it'd be way more expensive. Never once even acknowledging that the bad policy they created, the carbon tax, is the problem that they should be addressing in the first place. Not at all, right? They've got a solution. They've got 10. And then the solutions that they think about, maybe short term, this thing will impact the rate of inflation and so on and so forth, and we're going to do it, may fix a short term problem, but it makes it worse 6 months from now, or it makes it worse next year, right? And it's like, oh man, everything you're doing is wrong. Everything that you're doing is wrong, and you effing well know it. And it seems like they've got everybody, not everybody, but all of the big players, the people who want to stay in the game, they're on board, right? For the DEI, for pretending that the carbon tax isn't a massively inflationary thing when we all know that it is, right? All of that. They're all on board because it seems like they'll make more money. I don't know what it'll matter if the money collapses, but whatever. CBC News is reporting wireless phone plans will be getting more expensive for some Canadians this year. And Ryan says Rogers and Bell plans are going up $9 a month. $9 a month, that's not nothing. That's a lot, right? Justin Trudeau promised in 2019 to lower cell phone bills 25%. He also promised the Rogers-Shaw merger would lower cell phone bills. None of that is true. This Liberal government is not worth the cost. So, yeah, just kind of funny, right? That was the plan. That was the promise in 2019, more affordability. And we've got the polar opposite of that, the exact opposite. Wall Street Silver is talking about U.S. economy, and he says, how can we sustain this? National debt hits record high $34 trillion, and he says we are borrowing $1 trillion every 4 months or so. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like, how long did it take the United States to get to $1 trillion in debt, the first trillion, right? And now it's taking 4 months to get to another trillion. That's one heck of a shopping spree. And so I think that it is not good what's going on, because when you think about it in the context of this, a sovereign debt crisis and people who are coming in to collect, again, if people come in to collect, what happens to your U.S. Constitution? Well, that's bankrupt, buddy. You just lost this economic war, right? So, yeah, man, I don't know. Very, very concerned about this. And yesterday I was talking about BRICS and the impact of Saudi Arabia potentially nullifying the agreement between the United States and Saudi Arabia for military protection in exchange for only selling oil in US dollars. If Saudi Arabia joins BRICS and starts selling oil in local currencies, people don't need to hold the US dollar as the reserve currency, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's going to be impactful too. And that's going to have a huge impact on the United States' ability to use their currency as a weapon, which they have been doing. And it'll be, if it does happen, it will be hugely impactful for the United States and for Canada, because our economy relies a lot on the strength of the US dollar and the reserve currency being the USD, right? So worrying, but it doesn't seem like other people are worried, right? Stock market's going along tickety-boo, right? So I haven't seen Bitcoin hit $1 million yet, right? Or what is it? Not $1 million, but hold on. Somebody was saying it's going to hit $1 billion or whatever. A huge amount of money. It's going to be like one Bitcoin is going to be worth so much money that it'll be absolutely incredible. Like, it'll dwarf what it is today if the US dollar goes down, type deal, right? So anyway, Vancouver Sun, that's the speculation. That's what people keep predicting, right? Every 6 months I hear a prediction. Within 6 months, when the US dollar collapses, Bitcoin's going bonkers. Maybe, could be true. Anyway, Vancouver Sun is reporting BC government fined $710,000 for unsafe wildfire mitigation work. A summary posted online by WorkSafe BC says inspectors went to a site near Wanawan where there were trees being cut down to reduce wildfire fuel, finding evidence of unsafe cuts. So unsafe cuts. Oh man, not unsafe cuts. $710,000 worth. I mean, do you know how many deer you could kill for that? 70 odd, 71 maybe. Man, pretty wild. $10,000 a deer. So it is pretty crazy that they're doing fines to the government. And when you fine the government, it's just the taxpayer who has to pay for that. So yay, that's more money that's gone to fines and paying for more bureaucracy. Pretty wild. I thought this was interesting. In Ontario in 2026, so we have a couple of years to wait, corner stores will be able to sell all of the booze, all of the alcohol that you want. So here's Doug Ford making this announcement.
Ontario, we made this promise and we're getting it done.
You know, from Etobicoke to Pickering to Kenora, this is a fantastic day for Ontario, where we're modernizing alcohol and allowing beer and wine and other products to be sold in grocery stores, convenience stores, big box stores, right across Ontario.
We're making sure that all Ontario residents have the opportunity to have convenient shopping when you go in and you might want to grab something at a convenience store or a big box or retailer. You can pick up that bottle of wine, you can pick up the case of beer or seltzers or cider or whatever it might be, and be able to put it in your grocery cart, walk home, and it saves you time.
Every other jurisdiction in Canada, in North America, quite frankly, around the world, has access to beverage alcohol, choice and convenience, and Ontario should be the same. We need to treat.
Well, I mean, it's good to not have the LCBO overhead and the beer store overhead. Like, that's probably good. It's interesting. Opening up alcohol to more areas is kind of people criticize the government for leaning into oxycodone or fentanyl or opiates and saying you can't smoke. And smoking and drinking do a lot of damage. Oxycontin and fentanyl kill quickly. Right? There's the difference. If you are an alcoholic, you're going to live sick for a long time and be a huge drain on the system. Same with if you're a smoker. You live a long time, but be a huge drain on the system, right? By the time you're 50, you need help in the hospital because your lungs are shot or whatever, or your liver's shot, and then you're living 20 years in and out of the hospital, costing money all the time. Whereas fentanyl, bam, they just need to get you to like it enough to take too much of it, right? And then you're gone, and they don't have to deal with it. Bingo, bango, bongo, it's made. So it's interesting how the government does this, but this offers more access to alcohol. There's a huge push right now in the UK to limit how many units of alcohol, they call it units of alcohol. So be aware of how many units of alcohol you're drinking a day and so on and so forth. And the dangers of alcoholism and all of the rest of it. Now, like I think that it's not great to have the government pushing alcohol, pushing fentanyl with safe injection sites and claiming that this is helping people and it's more inclusive or whatever. I think that the government really should get out of the way and stop telling people how to live and let them live the way they want to live and remove taxes and lean into state management rather than people management. And having the government so involved in healthcare influences things that they lean into and don't lean into in a weird way, like the MAID stuff, the medically assisted death stuff. But the safe injection sites seem like a soft MAID. Seems like, if they really want to die, or if they really are escaping reality that much, maybe we'll just give them the final escape. You know what I mean? It seems underhanded and evil. I don't like it at all. I think it's very, very strange. So the state should just get the heck out of healthcare, the heck out of even delivering services, and just allow people to figure it out. Have a hospital that is maybe 100% private at this point in time, because when you incentivize, when you look at, okay, this alcoholic cost us a lot of money, let's say over 20 years, every year cost us $40,000 every year for the services that they needed, the nursing that they needed, the emergency, the care that they needed. Let's just say that. But this fentanyl patient came in at 18, gone at 24, right? And all it cost us was this program where we gave him free drugs. Cool, high five, right? And so that's the incentive that we're looking at, and that's not great. That's not good. You know what I'm saying? This is not a human way to look at things. This is a very, very sick societal way of looking at things. And I think that the government being involved in so many service deliveries gives them a weird perspective on things. Hello everyone, thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to canadapoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful